U.S. officials tell CBS News the Biden administration will provide anti-personnel mines to Ukraine to help slow Russia's ground forces. Humanitarian groups have criticized the use of these mines because they can pose a threat to civilians years after a conflict is over. Meanwhile, the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv temporarily shut down Wednesday over fears of a possible air attack. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Holly Williams reports from the Ukrainian capital city.
Today here in Kyiv, the air raid alarm sounded and sent us scrambling for cover in our hotel basement. We took the alert very seriously because earlier in the day, the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv announced it was temporarily closing because of a, quote, potential significant air attack. A Ukrainian military official told us they had information that Russia could try to strike the centre of Kyiv with ballistic missiles. In the end, no missiles landed that we're aware of, but that warning today came after Ukraine fired 8 American-made ATACMS into Russia, according to US officials. ATACMS are missiles with a maximum range of close to 200 miles, and their target was a military facility in the Bryansk region of southern Russia, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. Now, President Biden gave permission to Ukraine to use ATACMS deep inside Russian territory 3 days ago. Before that, their use was more limited because of concerns the powerful weapons could further escalate this conflict. The Kremlin, though, seems to be stoking fears of an escalation. Vladimir Putin approved a change in Russia's nuclear doctrine yesterday, lowering the threshold for a nuclear strike. A US official called that, quote, irresponsible rhetoric. Back to you.
Holly Williams, thank you. Former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, William Taylor, joins us now. Ambassador, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Lindsay.
We have spoken to you before about how the U.S. long-range missiles could impact the war. How about these anti-personnel mines? How will Ukraine use them and to what effect?
So these are designed, of course, to slow down infantry attacks. The Russians have learned, let's be clear, the Russians have learned some things about how to win on the battlefield. They're not winning, but they've changed their tactics so that they can take some ground. They've realized that they can't win by using armor, by using tanks and armored personnel carriers, because the Ukrainians are able to take them out because they can see them with their drones and attack them with their drones. So they've changed their tactics. Russians have changed their tactics and now are just sending infantry waves after infantry waves. These are just mass forms of numbers of Russian soldiers that are sent in to the maw of the prepared Ukrainian positions. And it doesn't matter to the Russians how many they lose. They just keep pushing and keep pushing with another wave. And so the Ukrainians, while killing an incredible number of Russian soldiers, are having to fall back. So these mines will slow that down. These mines will slow this mass attacks by Russian soldiers on the ground.
Ambassador, it's my understanding that these mines will be used on Ukrainian sovereign land. Are there concerns here? Because we mentioned humanitarian groups criticizing the use of these mines because of potential harmful threats to civilians down the road. Do you share those concerns?
Of course. And the Ukrainians share these concerns. And the U.S. government, I'm sure, shares these concerns, and they're taking steps to try to ameliorate risks. As you say, it's on Ukrainian territory. They hope to take this territory back. They hope that they will control. The Ukrainians will have control over this territory, and they know where these mines will be, and they can take them out. And I understand these are also mines that can be deactivated, either over time or by remote control. And there's commitment by the Ukrainians to remove them after the conflict. So there are concerns that are valid, certainly valid concerns, and I think they're being addressed.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has warned North Korea could send up to 100,000 troops to help Russia. How could that change the trajectory of the war? And are there a lot of challenges for the Russian military in utilizing those troops, such as something as basic as a language barrier?
You're absolutely right. To integrate forces, to integrate North Korean forces with Russian forces is difficult. It's difficult to do that in any case. This is what NATO does, Lindsay. NATO practices year after year after year after year, decade after decade, exactly this. How do forces from different countries talk to each other, work together, combined tactics to be able to have some real effect on the battlefield. So that's a challenge. That's no doubt a challenge for the Russians and the North Koreans. But 100,000 is a big number. I don't think that's been confirmed yet, but that's one of the reasons, Lindsay, that these long-range weapons, the ATACMS and the German version, if they're approved, but also the British and French version of these long-range missiles can be effective at trying to slow down and deter these North Koreans that are coming in these large numbers.
All right, Ambassador William Taylor, we'll have to leave it there for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lindsay.